We'll start from the beginning. So, good morning again, everyone. And I thank Haris for the invitation. And I'll try to share with you our dream, our efforts towards a more greener approach on cultural heritage. So I will begin with an introduction to the subject, discussing what is green and sustainable in conservation restoration. Then I will provide a brief presentation of the Green Art project, followed by the crucial role of non-destructive testing, and I'll wrap up by conclusions. I will speak about a critical shift happening in the world of cultural heritage, the move towards greener approaches in conservation restoration. We all agree that cultural heritage is a vital resource that needs to be carefully maintained and preserved, especially as we face increasing degradation from environmental changes and climate shifts. And I think Professor tutors have referred in a very integrated way to this. Let's say, for example, that Venice in Italy is constantly battling rising sea levels and increasing frequency of high tides. In Great Britain, the coastal castles are facing increased risks of collapse. And believe it or not, the global warming is here, bringing changing temperatures and wildfires. We all remember the devastating fires of 2007 that gravely impacted ancient Olympia and so on. These are risks that threaten our cultural heritage in a more and more irreversible way. So the good news is that the international community is recognized this threat. UNESCO signed a convention for protecting natural and cultural heritage back to 1972. More recently, in 2014, the International Council of Museums, ICOM, and the International Institute for Conservation, IIC, agreed on common environmental guidelines. And just a few years ago, in 2021, Europa Nostra, in partnership with ICOMOS, the International Council on Monuments and Sites, published the European Cultural Heritage and Green Paper, aligning the efforts with the ambitions of the European Green Deal. And these are, of course, the most known decisions, that they are not, of course, the only ones. All right, in the face of our current ecological emergency, the conservation restoration field is at crossroads. Words like sustainability, green procedures, circular economy, life cost assessment, and life cycle assessment become more and more common in our vocabulary. These terms are becoming increasingly crucial, representing a fundamental shift towards minimizing our environmental impact and ensuring the long-term viability of our conservation practices. When we talk about green in nature restoration, we are primarily focusing on the direct environment impact of the materials and processes we use. This has to do with using materials that have a minimal negative impact throughout their entire life cycle, from sourcing and production to use and disposal. Think about using natural bio-based solvents instead of highly volatile organic compounds that pollute our air. Environmentally friendly is also giving priority to materials that are safe for human health, for restorers, museum staff, and visitors. Regarding the production, we consider materials derived from renewable resources, such as plant-based binders or natural pigments, rather than those from finite fossil fuels. Energy efficient is implementing practices and technologies that reduce energy consumption during restoration processes in the studio and within the wider cultural heritage institution as well. This includes, for example, optimizing lighting, climate control, and using energy-efficient equipment. And green also means reduced waste, minimizing waste generation throughout the entire restoration process, from material selection to disposal. On the other hand, sustainable is a broader concept than green, encompassing not only environmental consideration, but also social and economic aspects. In natural restoration, sustainability means promoting a circular economy. This might involve reusing or repurposing restoration materials or developing new materials that are easily recyclable. Durability and longevity ensure that our restoration interventions are durable and contribute to the long-term preservation of the artwork, as in the restoration, for example, for historic frescoes, minimizing thus the need for frequent re-interventions that consume more resources. We have to consider the social and ethical implication of how we source our materials, including fair labor practices and responsible resource extraction, and develop green and sustainable practices that are also economically feasible for cultural heritage institutions, ensuring that these practices can be widely adopted and maintained over time. Knowledge transfer and education are also important. Research, education, and training in green and sustainable conservation practices fosters capacity within our field and ensure continuous development. Sustainable also means assessing and mitigating the risks associated with climate change and environmental degradation on cultural heritage and adapting our restoration practices to enhance resilience. And the focus on sustainable development has led to a fundamental change in values, often summarized by the virtuous cycle of the R's, that has begun with 3 basic R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Then we have the 5 R's, taking into consideration terms like rethink and recreate, and later 8 R's, comprising reevaluate, reconceptualize, restructure, relocate, redistribute, again, reduce, reuse, and recycle. This cycle is a cornerstone of the zero waste approach. Okay, these principles are now guiding our work in conservation restoration too. You can see, for example, a Venn diagram to represent the parameters for assessing greener solvents in conservation restoration, taking into consideration the environment, the health, and the practice. You can also observe that sustainable is represented by a wider area than greener. Speaking of solvents, for instance, it's worth mentioning that since 1960s, our field has seen a significant increase in the use of organic solvents such as ketones. I'm sure you know acetone, a very common solvent, alcohols like ethanol or methanol, or hydrocarbons like white spirit, and so on. Solvents are primarily being used for cleaning, dissolving on varnishes and adhesives, materials found in conservation restoration. Solvents are also widely used in preparing materials for treatment and aid in various processes such as diluting reagents, paint mixture, etc. While effective, these often come with significant toxicological and ecotoxic risks on biological beings and the environment. However, these risks haven't always been properly assessed or managed. Many of these solvents can harm our nervous, endocrine, and reproductive systems, and even affect vital organs like the liver and kidneys. Solvents are classified according to their toxicity, and you can see here in the slide, in the red, the more hazardous one. However, there is progress. We are developing alternative methods like applying solvents in gels. While you see some shots from a training workshop on nanomaterials and gels that we have organized 3 years ago, I can say that gels and nanomaterials not only give us more control over the process, but also reduce the amount of solvent used and evaporated. There's also exciting research into using essential oils for preventive air treatment or as biocides. But to truly become eco-responsive conservation professionals, we need a more radical shift in behavior and lifestyle. Today, every aspect of our work, researching, collecting, conserving, restoring, interpreting, exhibiting, and transmitting tangible and intangible cultural heritage must be ecological, accessible, sustainable, and inclusive. We need to move away from methodologies that lack durability and sustainability, or that they rely on energy-intensive processes and environmentally harmful materials. This brings me to a very exciting initiative, the Green Art Project, or the full title is the Green Endeavor in Art Restoration. That is an Horizon EU-funded 3 years project that brings in collaboration 28 partners and associates from all over the world. You can see here the geographical distribution of the partners that covers not only Europe, but Japan, USA, Brazil as well, all to join efforts around the critical issue how to make art conservation restoration safer and greener. Green Art is formed by a multidisciplinary partnership that gathers hard and soft sciences and engineering, including academic centers, innovative industries, and small-medium enterprises, conservation institutions, professionals, and museums whose collections hold absolute masterpieces in need of conservation. The project is coordinated by Professor Baglioni and the Center for Colloid and Surface Science, CSGI, that is an inter-university research consortium devoted to basic research and to the development of high-tech new process in several different scientific fields, including, of course, restoration conservation. The consortium is also include public entities and policy makers to favor training and dissemination activities to make stakeholders familiar with the new methods. Our objective is to develop novel materials, development and elaboration here, from waste and plant proteins, natural polymers, and biodegradable or compostable polymers from renewable resources. We evaluate their application and functionality at lab scale and on actual artifacts in museums and archives for cleaning, protection, consolidation, transportation, and packaging of cultural heritage assets. Throughout life cycle assessment and modeling, we aim for a safe by design approach, creating affordable solutions that are safe for users, operators, and the environment, while also minimizing energy consumption in monitoring museum environments as well. Then, final products are disseminated and demonstrated to the scientific conservation and citizens, communities, through public training programs and workshops. Within Green Art, innovative solutions for both curative and preventive conservation are developing, using low-impact environmentally friendly materials, obtained, as I said before, from renewable natural sources or recycled waste. Overall, these solutions are grouped in 5 families of products: protective coatings, cleaning systems, gels and fluids, consolidants, packaging materials, and there are proposed solutions for monitoring cultural heritage assets. Let's see briefly these groups. Protective coatings for metallic surfaces, like bronze statuettes for indoor and outdoor conditions, are based on green materials such as polysaccharide, deriving from waste or fishing industry, proteins obtained from cereal plants, from agricultural waste and other biodegradable polymers, with or without additives for active and passive protection. You can see here an example of metallic coupons and real objects used for assessing new materials. Second, aerogels and cleaning fluids. The focus is to replace existing polymers, solvents, and surfactants used in curative conservation by proposing equivalent biological, natural, or low-impact materials, such are fully sustainable, and improving them according to green and circular economy. Fluids are based mainly on water and green solvents. You can see here the classification of the solvents, value and the diagram at bottom. The value 3 is the best for green solvents, and the value 1 is the worst for toxic ones. Hydrogels and castor oil, organogels, bio-based surfactants or sugar head group, bacterial cellulose gels are tested to allow controlled and safe removal of soil and aged or detrimental rays from surface of work of art, such as paintings or metals. The gels are based on bio-natural and low toxicity polymers or on polymers made from green building block monomers that are synthesized with low energy processes. We are also focusing here. We are also focusing on systems to replace traditional consolidants, for example, tetramethylcellulose, by consolidants based on natural polymers for the strengthening of silk and cotton, or in general cellulosic fibers. And finally, we are also dealing with foams and packaging materials made by biodegradable polymers, such as polyurethane and natural fibers foams from biomass to control temperature and relative humidity. And you can see here a variety of our new materials, and here are some methods for packaging evaluation, materials evaluation we use in our lab. Furthermore, and this is the last working package, Green Art deals with green tech solutions for monitoring cultural heritage assets non-invasively, such as eco-friendly sensors for monitoring the artwork environment in the galleries and in the museums for relative humidity, temperature, and volatile organic compounds, and thus provide a new solutions not harmful for the environment. You can see here setup. I'm sorry, this is the previous. Okay, you can see here the setup of an installation in the General State Archives and in the atelier of Yannis Papas, where we are doing our experiments. Some typical cases the Green Art faces include painting, canvas and easel paintings, paper artworks, fragile, as I said, textile and pigments as well, display cases and storage deposits, metal objects, and multi-composite works. So green art will come out with safer solvents, polymers, monomers, surfactants that are basically, importantly, safer for conservators and conservation. And if you visit the green art site, you will see a movie that is integrate all this information and introduce the audience to the green art objectives. So I will not play it here, and I will continue. Until now, the project proposes more than 10 new cleaning fluids, 4 types of hydro and 4 types of new organogels, several families of consolidants for paint layers and support, new packaging materials, multifunctional foams for transporting fragile items, and enhanced replacement materials using environmentally friendly approaches for the protection of and for conservation and protection of the items. And just to give you an idea about how green are the new products, you can see here the assessment of these systems regarding the environmental footprint and the climate change according to CO2 by the Solar Impulse Foundation, which is an independent foundation. The big bar, the yellow big bar, corresponds to the benchmark products, while the tiny one, the blue ones at left, corresponds to the new green art solution. I am not sure you can see the tiny ones. That's good. The happy thing is that for the assessment of these new materials, green art adopt primarily non-destructive, non-invasive methodologies that are favored because we are talking about green. At the heart of conservation restoration lies a critical question, and I will explain why non-destructive testing are so crucial. Because the questions a conservator makes is, did the treatment work? Was it the right approach? Are the right materials being used? What is the impact of the treatment of the object? And so on. These are questions that have to be answered, taking into consideration that we are not just looking for lab results, but we have to focus on practical, accessible solutions for everyday professionals. Based on our experience within the project and our educational and research activities, we propose and promote user-friendly methodologies for daily restoration practices. Think about it, while advanced labs with high-cost equipment offer incredible insights, not every restorer has that luxury. What if you are on site facing a delicate artifact that can't be moved? What if sampling is out of the question? What if you need a quick condition assessment? That's why we are proposing real-world methodologies that can be used right on the spot. This brings us to non-destructive testing. We've built years of expertise in this field, and we think for good reason. Because non-destructive testing is a green technology, environmentally conscious, meaning minimal waste, low energy consumption, and no need for sampling. It's user-friendly, and imagine being able to see beneath the surface, to map materials and detect minute details, all without harming the artifact. It allows for in situ application, providing immediate results on site. We are talking about paintings, frescoes, archival materials, ceramics, stone, metals, almost every kind of artifact. The possibilities are quite wide. NDT offers the advantage of examining a wide range of objects, supporting a multidisciplinary approach to documentation, analysis, and protection of artworks. It provides significant added value because it ensures green, fast, reliable, economic, and safe testing, particularly crucial for high-danger objects or constructions. It also allows for serial checks, for example, examining a large number of pages of archival material or a collection of similar objects in museums. And importantly, NDT can be used for monitoring the evolution of deterioration or damage over time. Here you can see some user-friendly equipment based spectral imaging techniques that there are the spread ahead of the technology today. And here there are some shots of the method set up at our laboratory during the project. But we must be real that, of course, non-destructive testing, it isn't perfect. The main difficulty is that we primarily get qualitative results, and interpreting and quantifying images requires expertise. However, here's the exciting part. Technology is rapidly evolving. The challenges we face today are becoming tomorrow's solutions. The progress in information technology, image processing, artificial intelligence, and deep learning networks has significantly boosted the interpretation of NDT, non-destructive data. They are bridging the gap, making NDT more quantitative, meaning that they can provide results based on real measurements. And despite the learning curve, with the right training and understanding, NDT offers an unparalleled level of insight and control in the restoration process. To conclude, as we have explored today, the path towards green and sustainable practices in art conservation restoration isn't just an aspiration. It is an urgent imperative that demands a radical shift in our approach to preserving cultural heritage. The Green Art EU project stands as a beacon of this vital transition, as it proposes from the beginning, means bottom-up, new products dedicated to conservation restoration. Non-destructive testing further solidifies our commitment to a greener future. The shift towards green solutions in art restoration is about more than just new materials or technologies. It's about a fundamental change in mindset. It's about redefining our responsibility to cultural heritage, ensuring its longevity, not just for future generations, but also in harmony with our planet. By embracing sustainability, circular economy principles, and a safe by design approach, we are not only protecting our past, but also actively shaping a more resilient and responsive future. Okay, I think this is my, I thank you for your attention. This was the information I would like to share with you. And if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer.